Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. And today I want to talk about some rumors about a Monarch TV show, a couple positive thoughts I have about Godzilla vs. Kong after giving it some more thought, and a bit of news from TOHO Studios that's a couple years old, but it ties into the whole Monarch thing. So first on Godzilla vs. Kong. It's still not an idea that I'm on board with as far as a movie, but judging by the trailer and everything we've heard about it, it has no agenda. It has no political ideology. It's just pure entertainment, which is great. I think that's exactly what we need right now, and I think that's why the hype for this movie is so high. Everything that has gone that route of being about entertainment over ideology has gotten really high hype. You have The Mandalorian has just destroyed the ratings for streaming services. You have Godzilla vs. Kong now, and you have shows like The Expanse, whereas everything that doesn't do that has crashed. So it's really good to me. That's what people need. That's what people have been crying out for, is movies that just entertain. So to me, that's great. I hope it does that. I hope everything we see in the trailer in that regard holds true, and that we end up with a great, entertaining movie. Even though I'm not a fan of the idea, I like the approach. So, moving on to this Monarch rumor. There is a rumor out that there will be an HBO Max TV show about Monarch, the organization that tracks giant monsters in the Legendary Monsterverse. So, this is an update to a previous rumor that claimed Warner Brothers might have been discussing plans to continue their Monsterverse on HBO Max. The latest whisper suggested a series based on Legendary's Godzilla will be headed to HBO Max. So, just a pause on that. If you're not familiar, the contract Legendary signed with TOHO to make Godzilla movies in the United States put a moratorium on Japanese-made Godzilla movies so they don't compete until 2021, which we're now in. And we'll talk more on that aspect of it later. But essentially, this is how HBO Max can continue to profit from this Legendary universe that they've created more or less successfully, depending, and I suspect this show will depend very strongly on the outcome of Godzilla vs. Kong in terms of ratings and reviews. Because if it falls flat, I don't think they'll put the money into it. I think that's why it's still quote-unquote in development. However, assuming it's successful, which I think it will be, assuming it's successful, they can't really keep making movies without competing with TOHO, which plans to release movies every 1 to 2 years. Plus, these movies are very expensive. So a great way to continue their universe so that they can maybe spin it off into movies again later or other forms of media, what have you, put it on HBO Max as a show. Now, it'll be scaled down. You're not going to see big, cataclysmic, world-threatening fights, that kind of thing, I don't believe, as often. Just because the budget won't be there, and it's not going to be about that. It'll be like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. And it'll get into that in a minute. So according to Fandom Wire, Monarch-centered spinoff of Legendary's Godzilla and the Monsterverse could be headed to Warner Brothers' fledgling streaming service. Just in case it needs an introduction, Monarch is the fictional international organization tasked by the U.S. government with studying the Monsterverse's titans, keeping a close eye on their activities, and when taking part in kaiju containment. It's kind of strangely written. As shown in 2014's Godzilla, the group's fictional history dates back to the Truman administration, wherein they were tasked with investigating a Titan attack against the U.S. warship, the USS Lawton, With many believing the culprit to be Godzilla, Monarch was then involved in a series of attempts to kill the king of the monsters in the Pacific Ocean, disguising their efforts as a series of H-bomb tests. The organization was also involved in the events of Kong Skull Island, which saw Monarch agents and a handful of mercenaries discover the island, home of the eighth wonder of the world, and its vast, uncharted, and not to mention colossal ecosystem. Last seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters, Monarch fought alongside Gojira to stop both an eco-terrorist group led by Alan Jonah and Emma Russell and King Ghidorah from turning the world into a wasteland. Fandom Wire compares rumored Monarch show to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. An apt comparison considering the two groups' roles in dealing with their respective universes' extra-normal elements. And that allows you to bring in monsters without necessarily making it all about the monster, without making these huge, massively expensive episodes that would be required if the monster's on the screen all the time. And I'm not sure on the status of that contract. I think Legendary might still have the ability to produce material so that Godzilla and the like could be mentioned by name and shown on screen. But I'm not 100% on that. But I'm assuming if this is their plan that that's the case. If it does follow in the footsteps of its Marvel predecessor, audiences could get a look into Monarch's various procedures, clearance levels, and inner workings, as though King of the Monsters scratched the surface of these concepts. They have yet to be fully explored. It's also related to focus on the human characters, which is something that they've gone kind of back and forth with on these movies. And personally, I think it's the greatest weakness of these movies. The characters, to me, at least the human ones, just don't matter at all. Or they're weird, like the MacGuffin girl in Godzilla vs. Kong and the little girl in Godzilla King of the Monsters. That's all kind of strange. Especially they keep coming back to the little girl thing. But despite this hopeful news for kaiju fans, Fandom Wire stresses that in development means teams connected with Warner Brothers and Legendary are preparing and writing the following project, which does not guarantee the project will make it to air, of course. HBO Max will order the Monarch spin-off to series and expand on the untapped potential of the Monsterverse. After all, Godzilla vs. Kong, for which Warner finally released its first trailer, doesn't have to be the end. So, I mean, there you go. They can keep making movies if they want. But they're going to have to take breaks because of what TOHO is doing. I think this is great news, personally. I'm not actually all that interested in it. But, again, we go back to that pure entertainment. The more entertainment we can get on streaming services and the less lecturing and the less agenda and the less ideology, the better off everybody is. Not only does it help people escape reality, not only does it help people take a break from what is sometimes a very difficult world, it pushes back against this narrative in Hollywood that everything has to be agenda-driven, everything has to be lecturing, everything has to tell those stupid people in the middle of the country how to live. So, everything that comes out that doesn't do that is a step in the right direction. So I welcome this rumor. I hope it's true, and I hope in the way that they have with their movies, they don't go into all the stupid ideological crap. That said, this is from 2 years ago, but it's still accurate. TOHO is planning a Godzilla cinematic universe for 2021. So, this is, to me, the best news. Because Legendary makes some decent Godzilla movies. Nobody does it better than TOHO. Yes, there are bad ones, but TOHO has Gojira, they have Godzilla Raids Again, they have Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Destroya, Shin Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla 2000, Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, etc., etc. Lots of really great movies. Some of them truly phenomenal. Not just good Godzilla movies, but truly fantastic movies. Gojira and Shin Godzilla in particular are absolute. To me, the original Godzilla movie is an absolute work of art. And I think Shin Godzilla borders on that as well. Plus, Toho has done this before, which they're not mentioning, but they have. In the history of Godzilla is divided up, I don't know if you know, but they're divided up into different eras. There's the Showa era is the first one, followed by Heisei, ending in the 90s, followed by Millennium, and then Reiwa, which is what we're in now, with Shin Godzilla. Each of those eras was connected. Every Showa Godzilla movie from the beginning to the end was connected to the movie that came before it. It was a shared universe populated by dozens of monsters, different civilizations, and all sorts of aliens and other things. It even had its own endgame, essentially, in Destroy All Monsters. Of course, it continued for years after that, too, but the Heisei era starts Godzilla 1984 and builds a cohesive story through multiple movies, culminating ultimately in Godzilla vs. Destroya. Millennium series was different. It was each movie stood on its own with the exception of the two Mechagodzilla movies. And the Final Wars movie technically was its own timeline as well. And then, of course, Shin Godzilla is also a standalone. But they've done this before, and if anyone's going to do it again, it's them. So we'll get into this article just a little bit. Godzilla creators Toho have announced the film franchise's Japanese incarnation will continue after Shin Godzilla. It's not getting a sequel. While no direct sequel to Shin Godzilla is in the works, the franchise will live on as a series of solo movies starring monsters like King Ghidorah and Mothra. The last few years of Godzilla films have been somewhat confusing, as it has been separated into two distinct continuities divided by regionality. In the United States, the most recent Godzilla film was Godzilla, so updating this would be King of the Monsters. There it is, set for release in 2019. Over in Japan, though, the original creators of Godzilla released Hideaki Anno and Shinji Hijuki's Shin Godzilla, also known as Godzilla Resurgence, in 2016. Toho's chief Godzilla officer has revealed that the Japanese Godzilla films will also take a stab at a larger narrative universe. The initiative is being referred to as a World of Godzilla that will expand rapidly after 2021. In the meantime, the company will continue to work on its Godzilla anime trilogy, the first of which is now available on Netflix. So, that anime trilogy is out. Most people hate it. I'm not going to get into that. But these people can absolutely nail this. And it's great news. And honestly, it's great news for Legendary too, especially if they do a Monarch series, because the two can feed each other's interests. Even though they're different universes, it's Godzilla. Right? So I'm really happy about this. I think the more raw entertainment, unburdened by agenda and political ideology that we can get, the better we are and the healthier the entertainment industry becomes. So if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscription button. Don't forget to ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.